The reason why I want to talk about it is the end of 2
has
May runs into Qmir, whatever you say his name, Ezra Miller, I'm just going to call him. And she is almost ready to kill him because he talked to the Jedi. And he's like, no, I know where Kelnaka is, the Jedi Wookiee living on Kofar. He goes, I know where he is.
Yeah, you can't do all of this.
Yes.
And then come to me with a Wookie Jedi cake and be like, sorry, it's a Wookie Jedi. You've always wanted to see a Wookie Jedi, right? No, it's too late for that now. We're way past that now. We're way past that.
Episode 4 starts with May and Ezra Miller landing on the planet. Now, this is happening right after they left.
Yeah.
They leave the planet. They land on this planet. Leaving the planet, May is like, I'm going to kill you for talking to the Jedi. He's like, I know where the other Jedi is you want to kill. All right, let's go. Land on the planet, and May's like, fuck it.
Well, not only that, this is what I'm talking about when I say they tell us one thing and show us another. They land on the planet, and Qmir, whatever his name, he tells May, even bounty hunters are scared to come to this planet. It's so uncharted that if you go out into the jungle alone, you will get lost and die.
Yes.
And we're like, okay. And then they cross a bridge.
Yeah.
So, guys, I gotta ask, if this is an uncharted planet full of danger that you can't go out into the jungle because nobody's ever trekked it and even bounty hunters are scared to come here, who built the bridge?
Yes.
Why do you have a bridge here?
It's fucking stupid.
And then later on in the episode, we find out there's a bunch of people living on the planet.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You just told us that this is like the most dangerous place in the world. And even somebody of May's capability can't go off on her own because she will 100% die. And even Boba Fett is scared to come here. But there's just people.
And
there's just people chilling.
At the end of episode 2, when you see the Wookiee Jedi, there are 2 bounty hunters at his door.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
It's like, well, how the fuck did they get there?
So
they must not have been afraid.
You can't tell me this and then do this. You can't tell me nobody comes here and it's desolate and uncharted and nobody knows anything about it and it's super dangerous and then show me a bridge. That's antithetical to what you just told me.
And they tease us at the end of episode 2 with Kelnaka.
Yes.
They teased us at the beginning of this episode with 2 seconds of Kelnaka.
Yes. Kelnaka's dead by the time
and then they kill him off screen.
Yeah.
You don't see... What is the one thing that might have salvaged this show?
A Wookiee
Jedi on-screen fighting.
I do, while we're on Wookiees, I do have to ask, is the dress code... First off, I didn't realize that yellow was part of the dress code.
Yeah,
Everybody wears yellow now.
They wear yellow.
They all wear the same color yellow. And I'm just like, is this like a High Republic thing? Is what's going on here? This is weird. This has never been a thing before. But now you're drawing intense attention to it. So I don't know what to do with it. Second, do you remember the invasion of Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith?
Yep.
Yeah, there were a lot of Wookiees there, right?
Yep.
How many of them were wearing clothes?
None.
Yeah, so I just gotta ask, how stringent are the Jedi that like, no, you gotta wear a shirt and a cloak.
Yeah.
You put on a shirt. Pants, you don't need pants, but a shirt, you wear a goddamn shirt.
Yeah. It made me think of one of my favorite robot chickens ever. When Han Solo, Chewbacca takes him to meet his family, the door opens and his family all has clothes on. And Han looks at Chewie, you've been naked this whole time? And Chewie's like, I love you, and just walks towards him. That made me think of this. I'm like, are they just have their Wookiee balls out the whole
What's
time?
going on? Because no
know.
Wookiee before this has ever worn clothes, and nobody seems to have ever had a problem with it. But suddenly, you introduce a Wookiee Jedi, and I guess he's got to put a shirt on.
So May decides, she tells Ezra Miller, she traps him and says, I don't need to fight for your master anymore. I'm going to turn myself into the Jedi and give up.
She has a full change of heart.
Because only my sister I care about now, even though the last time I saw her, I tried to kill her, which we will talk about in episode 3.
In several degrees.
Several, yeah.
To several ends.
But 16 years later, you find out she's alive and all that matters is her now.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's it. So you're willing to just give up everything that you've worked for the last 16 years, all of this, and just walk away because OSHA's here?
And she thought...
Then why did you drive off at the end of episode 2?
Yeah.
If you felt that way, then why didn't you just stay here and do the plan that you're now insisting on doing?
Yeah.
That's fucking dumb.
And it's like... Why in the fuck do you think that by telling the Jedi about your master, they're going to forgive you killing 2 Jedi Masters?
Yeah.
That's the part that really, like, I was listening to her whole spiel to Ezra, and I'm like, what the fuck,
What are you talking about?
What are you talking
What
about?
are you
killed
talking
2
about?
fucking Jedi Masters.
Yeah. You think they're just going to welcome you back with open arms because you give up your master to them? Your master who you don't know who it is, you don't know what they look like, and you've never spoken to.
Yeah.
And you're just going to give them up. How? How?
I love it. Some people refer to him as Smilo Ren because he has the smile mask.
Yeah. Oh my God, we got to get to the smile mask. But before we get there, we have to talk about this forest of doom that they keep talking about. They keep on saying we can't stay after dark.
Yes.
We will be fucked 5 ways to Friday if we stay after dark. So we got to get out of the woods before dark. And they are just not making headway getting out or into these woods
like
before
an
dark.
Awful bug attack.
A stupid,
so
useless
dumb.
bug attack where there's these things wrapped around trees and everybody walks past them again because they're all dumb, bad Jedis. Yeah. And Osha touches one and wakes it up, and then it flies at the Jedi and Soul kills it. And it's just this moment for Osha to be like, if I hadn't woken it up, it wouldn't be dead. And I'm just sitting here like, what about the rest of the swarm?
Yeah.
There was an entire swarm.
And then it's daylight, but they're saying the only reason he attacked them is because he was attracted to the lightsaber light. Because they said that the bugs are attracted to light, and that's why it came at the lightsabers, because it's attracted to its light. It's like, it would have went up to the sky where fucking sun was out.
Well, and it did. It flies away.
Yeah, and then it
has to fly back.
The lightsaber comes out.
And I'm just like, what? What's happening? And like so many other things in this show, we walk out of that section of the forest and I'm like, so that's never going to come up again.
Nope.
That's never going to be a thing ever again in this show. We will never talk about it ever again. It's going to be like Yord's Padawan. It's just gone. It was a part of the show, and now it's gone. And so I guess that happened. And we have a creature that speaks not Wookiees.
Basil the tracker of some race. We don't know what he is, but he apparently speaks the same language that the Wookiees speak, even though it doesn't sound anything like what the Wookiees speak. So that's weird. It's kind of interesting and weird. When you have 2 people speaking the same language, usually it sounds the same, vaguely the same. They pulled the Doctor Who thing to where it was completely unnecessary for her to say he, them. Yeah. And it wasn't a big, like, to me, I blew past that. It wasn't a big deal, but it's like, I think you kind of knew you were going to get the blowback you got.
Yeah.
And I'm almost wondering if it was like just like a jabbing.
I think it was.
And it's like, you didn't need.
I mean, like this whole show is about putting fingers in your eye. This whole show is about putting fingers in your eye and being like, now you're smarter for having been poked in the eye. And it's just infuriating because it takes this thing that I really, really care about and it trashes it to hell. And then it tells me I'm dumb for not liking it. And I'm just like, no, I think, call me crazy, if you're going to make a new iteration of something in a long-standing franchise, you gotta follow the rules of the franchise. All right? And it's not like Star Wars' rules are hard to grasp. Everybody can get them pretty quick. Children catch on to them extremely fast. Yeah. So I feel like you, as an adult, should be able to do this, but you clearly can't.
No.
And so we get Smile Ren. Comes out of the woods, and he doesn't say anything. He just has the Knights of Ren visor down, and this weird, like, fucking
it almost
dazzled
looks like
smile.
an S&M, like, zipper smile thing or something.
And it's just like...
it's so dumb.
Nobody wanted to do another run on this. Nobody wanted to check again and make sure that this was really what we wanted the villain of the series to look like. Are we, like, crazy sure? Because even if you just got rid of the little fucking studs that they put in his mask, like, if you just get rid of that shit, it would be a perfectly passable costume. It would look a lot like Marok from Ahsoka, but even so, it doesn't matter. It's fine. He didn't have any dialogue. He was a gas person. He, like so many other things in Star Wars, will never be spoken of ever again.
Yes.
In 3 years, when somebody's listening to this and I say Marok, they're going to be like, who the fuck is Marok?
Well, and that's another thing that people are pointing out, that the dude from... I can't remember his name. He's the Master Jedi that was on the Jedi Council and the Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah!
That says there hasn't been a Sith in a millennia. Is in this episode, and he knows that there's this Sith.
Not only is he in this episode, and again, I see what you're doing. You have this carrot hanging here, and you want me to take it. but showing me Plo Koon is not gonna get me to take it, guys. You can put Plo Koon and this other two-brainer over here in this episode. You know what it's gonna do? Make me mad.
Yeah.
Because why are they here? Why are they here?
No sense.
And now you're gonna, like, so what is the timeline? How
old is Plo Koon? Like, how long can he live?
How far before Phantom Menace does this take place? Yeah. Because we have at least 2 Jedi Masters who are still on the Council by the time we get to the Clone Wars. So, what's going on?
And Master Yoda, when he dies, says he's 800 years old. Yeah. So it's like, how old are these guys?
How old are these guys?
How are they not running the Jedi Council?
What's going on?
1,000 years old.
What's happening?
I don't get it.
You can't just do this shit. You can't just cycle through the catalog of Star Wars characters and be like, oh, that one looks cool. Let's use that one. That's not the way this works.
And I don't quite get how you have this group of Jedis that are supposedly powerful. I mean, there's only technically one maybe Padawan in the group. None of them sense Smilo Ren until he slowly rises up behind Osha.
That's because they're all the worst fucking Jedis of all time.
They're just so fucking
bad.
They're
totally terrible Jedis.
How do they not sense this insanely powerful Sith Lord?
Well, how did Sol not sense that this child fell and didn't die?
Yeah.
How did a million things? There's so many moments. At this point, I've given up on trying to count how many moments there are in the show where I'm like, you know what'd be really useful? Force sense! Yeah. It was one of the first Force powers way back before any of this shit!
Yes.
You have all this shit in here, but you don't have Force sense? What kind of bullshit are we doing?
It's so bad. And then it ends with him doing this Force push on all the Jedis and sending them flying.
And then hard cut to black.
Thanks to the trailer, there's a scene where this Sith throws their lightsaber and it cuts through a bunch of trees because we've seen it in the fucking trailer. Yeah. So we know there's going to be a big fight and everyone's like, oh, well, that's when the show will get good. It's like,
no, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not going to get good.
No, it's not because
I tell you right now, I would be absolutely shocked if this Sith Lord isn't Anastasia.
That would also make a lot of sense.
The mother that creates the Jedi in the way that Darth Sidious talks about Darth Plagueis and how he can create life and save life and all that.
And famously, this little guy named Anakin Skywalker.
Kind of a big deal. You may have heard of him. He kind of comes up every once in a while. Anakin Skywalker. Maybe? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody want to talk about
midichlorians?
No. Okay. Do you want to talk about episode 3?
Let's talk about it.
It's really bad, kids.
Okay, we gotta talk about episode 3.
Okay, so how bad is episode 3? It's so bad that at one point Torben is taking blood from children for plot reasons, and I was begging them to mention midichlorians.
You know that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm just
without
begging
saying the
them.
words.
I'm just begging them because at this point you might as fucking well.
Yeah.
You have every other fucking bullshit piece of garbage here being mutilated and tortured into this new form. Let's fucking throw midichlorians on there. One that I hate. Sure, it's just the same as one that I love, right? Why not? So we meet the kids. We meet May and Osha's children.
And the Coven of Witches.
Which isn't the Coven of Witches from Ahsoka, and it's also not the Coven of Witches that Darth Maul is from. This is a third unique Coven of Witches.
Yes.
But you wouldn't know that because the first witch that we meet looks like Darth Maul.
Yes,
so I'm like, okay, so this is Darth Maul's group, right? No, not even kind of. What the fuck are we doing?
I have no idea. Oh, God. So May and Osha, not only are they not identical twins like they are in the show, they are obnoxious in the way that when the focus isn't on them and they start like fighting, it is in the most ridiculous, poorly acted way. And I don't think the girls were bad.
No, this is bad directing.
But it's just saying, okay, as soon as your mother turns her back, start arguing loudly where she can hear.
Start hitting
each other. But
she
doesn't notice it until she turns around.
Yeah. Well, let's also talk about filmmaking, because these two girls are dressed exactly the same.
Yes.
And while they might not be actual twins, they do look strikingly similar.
Yes.
Really quick, it might be helpful to the audience to give some kind of distinguishing feature to each one. So you knew who was talking when. Because when one of them is talking about the dangers of the tree and the other one corrects them about not eating the tree, I don't know who's who.
See, the only reason I do is because I saw it the second time. And that was one of my things about this episode is I'm like, I need to pay attention to what they look like. And it did make it easier. No, okay. It made it painful watching it a second time, but it made it easier to decipher between the two of them by watching it.
But that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't take a second time.
No, it should not
We
take a
have
second
over
time.
100 years of filmmaking knowledge.
Yes.
We know how to do this. You know how you do this? You make them look, a little different. Even if it's just like one has a color on their shirt that the other one doesn't. Or one is wearing pants and one isn't. Okay? Or you have the characters address each other when they're talking. So you know who's talking to who. And you don't play the fucking game where you mix up who's on what side of the camera. Yeah. There were so many moments where I was like, so that's May and that's Osha, because Osha was on this side of the camera and May was on this side of the camera. No, fuck you. They're on opposite sides of the camera now because now we're walking. So I don't know who's who. Yeah. And eventually it just becomes which one is sad and which one isn't. The one that's not sad is May. The one that is sad is Osha. And that's the only way you can tell them apart after a while. And it's infuriating.
Well, it's in the whole filmmaking portion of it is because you do have somebody was given almost $200 million to write and direct this franchise that is beloved for 50 fucking years. And she has no experience to the point.
I was shocked when I looked at her.
Well, this is what, if I was her, of everything, this would make me the maddest. She has such little experience that anytime she's brought up, she's referred to as Harvey Weinstein's former assistant, because that's what she is. And it's like, that should be the last thing you're fucking talked about. You know what I mean?
The only thing
distant from that shit.
The only thing of note on her IMDb is Russian Doll. That's it.
And even that, like, it's like, okay. Like, I've watched an episode of that, and I was like, all right.
Sleeping with Other People, that's a movie that I've heard isn't very good and suffers terribly from trying to pretend that Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie are in their late teens.
Yeah.
That's it, kids.
And it's like, this is my problem with her reaction specifically. If this was a male directing something this badly, no one would give them shit for calling him out on directing it badly. But because it's her doing, and everyone's taking offense to it, it's like, it has nothing to do with her sex or gender or whatever. It's the fact that she's doing a shitty fucking job. It's not good.
I want to make sure that I get the right guy. But when we were watching The Flash, the movie, not the show, not when we watched that and we saw Baby coming out of the microwave and the entirety of whatever that Speed Force nonsense was.
Director, yep.
Andy Muschietti, who directed it, came out and said, "Oh, it looks that way because it's distorted by the Speed Force, so that's why it looks that way." And we all criticized him for that.
And
because that was dumb.
Wholeheartedly ridiculed.
That was a dumb thing to say. Had nothing to do with who he is as a person.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with his gender, his nationality, any of that, anything. Has everything to do with terrible filmmaking.
Yes.
So, Miss Hedlund, I gotta tell you, this has nothing to do with you personally. This has everything to do with the fact that you seem to think you're smarter than all of us.
Yes.
And that's what I'm angry about. It's not that you're a woman.
You're doing it with a franchise that is absolutely heartfelt, beloved by millions of people.
I think, pretty easily arguable as the most popular franchise, period.
Oh, yeah.
Top to bottom, the most popular franchise ever. Of anything ever. Yes. More than Harry Potter. More than Star Trek. More than Dracula.
Yeah.
More than Frankenstein. More than fucking Jesus. Like, anybody, this is it. But everybody knows Star Wars and everybody has a feeling on Star Wars.
This series is what we have talked about with the problems that we have with Marvel and Disney. Where it's like, in Kathleen Connolly and Lucasfilms, it's like, you have a responsibility to the fans to give them something good. And when you don't, you cannot blame the fans for being fucking mad.
No.
You need to blame yourself for putting out dog shit.
Yeah. Well, it's like when sports teams say you're not a real fan unless you're a fan when we're bad too. No, that's not how any of this works. Listen, if you suck and I blame you for being bad, that has nothing to do with me being a bad fan. That has everything to do with me saying you're doing a bad job.
And that's always been my criticism with people who anytime someone has a negative thing to say about America, and they're like, oh, go move somebody else, you're not an American. It's like, no, I love this country so much that I'm going to criticize it when it does stupid shit because I want it to get better. That's how this show is. I have an appreciation. I don't love the series, but I have appreciation for nerd culture and the shit that we love, that if you're going to fuck it up, take accountability and make it better.
Take accountability. Say, wow.
Yes.
Look internally and say, what did I do to put myself in this situation?
Yes.
How did this happen? Because I had the reins the whole time. The fans didn't come in and change things. The fans didn't come in and rewrite it. The fans didn't come in and do the CGI for them. The fans didn't do anything. The fans just watched the goddamn thing and didn't like it because you decided that you were smarter than everybody who's ever done Star Wars ever. All right? Anybody who's ever enjoyed Star Wars, anybody who's ever watched Star Wars, anybody who's ever made Star Wars, anybody who's made a Star Wars fan film, I feel very bad for anybody who's made Star Wars fan films back in the day, who were really earnestly trying to make good films, and then they see this shit with the official tag on it, just desecrating everything that they cared about. What the fuck are we doing?
So, by saying desecrating, I think we need to talk about the thread.
Oh my god!
So you're gonna change... And, okay, so...
The purest, most simple element of Star Wars.
Yes.
The Force.
Yes.
Everybody knows what the Force is.
Yes.
Everybody knows, okay? In the same way that everybody knows what gravity is, okay? And if you had a religion that, for some reason, praised gravity and just followed gravity as this benevolent force that held us all to the earth, it would be really weird if an offset of that sect said it was something completely different. Yeah. That'd be kind of weird. And then also show it to us physically in the physical realm. What are we doing?
Yes.
What are we doing?
And it's like, so Mother Coral, who is the Darth Maul looking one that carried the twins, and then you have Anastasia, who is the leader of this coven, and the one that she says, so Mother Coral said, I carried them, but Anastasia says, I created them, because she used the Force to create these twins. What I love is when Anastasia is doing this awful class for the girls, and it's explaining, calling it the thread, and then she says, it is not used to attack.
And then immediately uses it to attack.
Well, you could even say that she was using it to, like, deflect an attack. But what does she do right when the Jedi come? She attacks Tobin using the goddamn thread, and it's like, you just fucking said it's not for attack.
And she goes on this whole diatribe about how the Force is wrong and Jedis are wrong, and this isn't about who uses the Force, or rather, this isn't about how you use the Force, it's about who gets to use the power.
Yeah.
And all these other bullshit, nonsense, garbagey things that she's proselytizing to these kids. And ultimately, like, she is talking about how evil and horrible the Jedi are. She's doing the exact same thing to her kids.
This show, and that should be another thing that pisses people off, this show is trying to make the Jedi look out to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
And, I mean, in this episode, they have them coming to steal the children because they want to train them, even though these women are training them the way they want. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? The Jedi are like the good...
And the Jedi keep saying we never take people who don't want to go. But, like, I guess they do.
Because if May would have passed the test, they would have forced her to go.
I guess. We won't ever know, because that part of the show is over now.
Oh, my God.
No, it's infuriating because it is so clearly the Force that they're talking about. But they so badly want us to not think it's the Force.
Yeah.
They so badly want us to think that this is greater and different than the Force. Listen, I've seen that. Because I watched Rebels.
Yeah.
They talk about that. In Rebels. They talk all about how the Force works and how it's beyond anything that the Jedi understand. The Jedi understand one element of the Force. There's so much more to the Force than that. They don't do that here.
No, not even close.
They say the Jedi are wrong and this is what the Force is. Yeah. There is no Force. There is only the thread. It's like New Coke. It's like, this isn't Coke. This isn't the Force. This is thread.
It's Crystal Pepsi.
Listen, this isn't Twitter. This is Threads.
Yeah.
Okay? All Rebels did was say the Jedi understand the Force in one way, but the Force is way bigger than just that one way. It goes throughout so many other elements of life. They don't try and encapsulate this.
Yes. And then, so the Jedi are on the planet in the beginning because you kind of see them, and it is the four that May is hunting. They test the girls after that weird fucking ceremony where the girls are ascending, and they do that awful fucking chant, and it's like chant. It's so fucking stupid.
And I thought that was going to turn into something. It doesn't. It never turns into anything because nothing in the show ever actually develops into anything. They present something to you and you say, wow, this seems really important and like it's going to go somewhere. And then it never goes anywhere.
Yeah. And then we got to get to, so May and Osha go through the Jedi test. May lies, and so she doesn't pass because, she outsmarted the Jedis. But Osha lies, but then the Jedis catch her, and she decides she wants to go with the Jedis. And May says to her, I will kill you. So May lights a book on fire and sets it down, which lights stone and steel into this blaze as if it was like old wood.
Every pipe is exploding. They're just rooms full of witches that are they're all dead. Now, none of them are injured in any way.
That's the part. That scene at the end where they're walking and there's just piles of them. And there's no burns.
No damage.
And the fire, if you think about this scene, the scene of all the fire, it looked like some extra walked around with a lighter and lit specific areas.
Oh, definitely.
There was no,
it didn't feel...
carnage.
No. It didn't feel happenstance or crazed or like fire. It felt very controlled. But again, Soul is a Jedi master, and he's walking through all of these bodies. He must sense that they're all dead.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's the thing I'm curious about.
Nothing makes sense in this world.
Are they going to show... But the Jedi would not kill the witches.
No.
But that's what... The only thing that would make that scene make sense.
The scene with Corbin.
No, the scene where Soul is running through with Osha at the end, and you see all the dead witches... And they have no burns.
Yeah.
There's not really fire around them.
Yeah.
And also, May lit that fire 10 minutes before they were running around up top.
Yeah.
And the fire found a way to go through solid rock and steel to catch the whole fucking structure on fire. Which, the whole structure is bore out of a mountain.
Yeah.
And it is literally just stone and steel.
Yeah. There's nothing to burn here,
There's nothing to fucking burn.
It's going to burn like an English castle.
It's going to burn like it's in space.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to burn like.
Yeah. But then this begins the question, is this the sin that makes Torben kill himself? Did the Jedis kill all these people for some reason?
That's the only thing that makes sense. Or did something
else happen?
That's the only thing that makes sense.
Because, but then, if we follow that track down, let's follow that track down. So May sets this book on fire and then goes someplace else. And then the Jedis come in and kill a bunch of Force users and set a bunch of fires and take one of the two children back. They don't tell any of the masters about the second child. They don't tell anybody about what happened on the planet. Nobody knows anything that's going on here. So that 16 years later, everybody is shocked at what's happening. And I'm just like, so... Is this like you guys covering your asses? Like things got out of hand and now you don't want to tell anybody that you killed a bunch of people? But that doesn't make any sense within a lot of realms.
Yeah.
And then you have the weird thing with May at the end where she falls and just appears by the tree from the beginning of the show. And you're just like,
She had a little bit of soot on her face.
Hang on a second. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Hang on a second. That doesn't, none of this makes any fucking sense. What are you fucking talking about? And again, they would be able to censor on the planet as the only other Force user on the entire fucking planet.
Yeah.
Guys, for fuck's sake.
And that's why I still stand by the fact that I firmly believe Anastasia is going to be the Sith Lord. That's the part that I think will make me want to break my TV. Because May is working for her, but she'll never know. Because they make it sound like May started training shortly after this all happened.
It seems like this master pulled her off the planet
But she still has never seen him or know who he is, but he's trained her for all this time.
And she could turn him in if she wanted to.
Oh my God. I hate it so much.
Like,
and
it really is that it's trashing canon and then has the gall to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to trash canon, at least give me something new and good that I can use. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't know I wanted this, but I'll take it. This is fine. I'll accept this.
And what this show is doing is it's making me truly concerned with the state of critics.
Yeah.
Because Rotten Tomatoes, and this has been brought up in a lot of things, the fan score on Rotten Tomatoes is appalling. It's like down to dog shit, which where it should be. But the critics is certified fresh. So what I'm thinking is
you can buy Rotten Tomatoes.
You have to be able to buy it, because even if you're not a Star Wars fan and you're really pushing for this type of messaging in a show, which is totally okay, it's not well done. It's not made well. It's not written well. It's not acted well. So it should not be. And it's the one thing that I think is giving the showrunners that chip on their shoulder, saying, well, the people who are criticizing it are just these toxic men that hate it.
Fans.
Because they can hold up the critic scores. And it's like, I wonder now then, are they paying these critics?
Are some of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes bots?
Because you cannot be somebody who has love and respect for cinema, media, whatever, and have watched it to the point where you are a legitimate critic and can watch this show and not see how bad it is just from a filmmaking perspective.
They keep on laying out these little breadcrumbs that are supposed to make up for all the sins that they've done. Yord has a yellow lightsaber. We haven't really seen a yellow lightsaber. There's a Wookie Jedi.
Who you don't fucking see because he dies.
They have Plo Koon here.
Yeah.
None of this makes up for all of the sins that you have committed to get here. Both sins to Star Wars specifically and sins to filmmaking.
Yes.
Like, they're just terrible filmmaking decisions throughout all of this that just make no sense.
Yeah.
Decisions that are just mind-boggling why they would do it this way. And that's where that sense of entitlement comes from to me, is the sense of we're better than you. We know better than you, to the degree that we don't have to explain ourselves. Don't ask us to explain ourselves. Just accept that this is Star Wars now. And if you don't like it, then you need to deal with your issues with your mother. I have a great relationship with my mom.
I know, seriously. I love women. I was raised by women.
I have so many women in my life. I have more female friends than male friends. That's not the issue. The issue is that you made a bad show.
And I think that's the thing that's getting me frustrated, is I am 100% on board with these movements and this inclusion stuff. Like I said, I had the issues I had with Doctor Who in some of these earlier episodes. I see now that they were kind of setting this new version of the Doctor up. It's like they weren't completely well done episodes, but I can see the character building.
Yeah.
And now it makes sense.
You can see the through line.
You can see, exactly. But once again, even the episodes that I had issues with, the acting was still well done. And there were still snippets that you're like, okay, it is still kind of touching back to the lore, and they're not really changing things, but with this character, you can change things to an extent because the person changes themselves.
Well, I call it the "There You Are, Peter" from Hook.
Yes.
There you are,
Peter.
There you are,
Peter. Exactly. But it's like this, like you're saying, how do you expect to not get criticism when you take a beloved franchise, one of the most beloved franchises in history, and you change the structure of it.
The basic nature of it. The basic conceit of it. What do you think is going to happen? Like, this isn't... You didn't change Qui-Gon's lightsaber from green to gray.
Yeah.
That's not... Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
We joke about Wookiees having to wear shirts now, but ultimately that's not what I'm most upset about. What I'm most upset about is that your Jedis are idiots who don't know how to use the Force, and apparently the Force isn't the Force anymore. And it's not the Force like how Dave Filoni says it's greater than what the Force is. And you're saying that it's not only not the Force, but it is this. That's bullshit! This is bullshit!
And the thing that irritates me about that is I used to have faith in Filoni. He's played a major part in some of these storylines. And I'm like...
Not on this. He has not been on any of the writing credits on any.
Well, no, but they even said he's been so on board with the ideas though behind it, because he is running the Star Wars section of it. That one of they filmed a scene already for season 2 that got canceled, that lost Disney like tens of millions of dollars because they already filmed this thing and he was a part of it. So he still has his hands in this, and it's like, how, if you're this super fan, that's like me writing a Star Trek show and saying, pull off Spock's ears. It was just a planet of cosplayers. Yeah. There's no such thing as Vulcans. They were cosplaying as Romulans. Yeah. And then it got away from them. It's like, no, dude, you're taking something that you supposedly created this love in your life, and you're completely fucking it up.
We know the answers to these questions.
Yes.
And now you're reopening and relitigating things that we already know the answers to. And you're telling us that we're assholes for being upset that you're trying to relitigate these things.
And for those listening, go back to when we first talked about the trailer to The Acolyte. I was so excited.
We were excited.
We were so excited for this series.
We were nervous but excited.
Yes.
We were optimistic, I think is the best way to put it.
Because Ahsoka wasn't great, but it wasn't awful.
It was a step better. It was a step towards something better.
Exactly.
And while the very end of the show got way away from them, that whole thing with Sabine being able to use the Force now.
Yeah, that was all.
It got so far away from what we wanted it to be.
Yes.
This is just its own thing. It's just like in the same way that it has decided that it doesn't need to pay attention to any of the rules. Fine. Then I'm not going to give you any of the credit Star Wars has.
Yeah.
How about that? How about them apples? You want to play that way? Fine. You're on your own. You are now in sword and sorcery fantasy land.
Yeah.
Show me that you can get to high fantasy. Yeah. Show me that you can make that jump, and I'll give you credit. I know you're not going to, because you've shown me what you can do. We're halfway through this show.
Yeah. And honestly, to me, I put a lot of the blame on Kathleen Kennedy just because she even said, and it drives me nuts, they don't need to like follow George's vision. Where it's like, you don't have a career without George Lucas. Period. You don't have the career you have without being under the tutelage of George Lucas, because he gave you the opportunities with Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all this that helped you become this producer that you are. And then you're going to take his baby, the thing that you supposedly love, and you're going to shit on it.
Yeah.
And be like, why don't you like my shit? And it's like, dude, your career is based on the core of Star Wars and their fans.
And I'm not even saying that you have to follow George's vision, but you have to play in the sandbox. You can't decide that you're going to just dig up the whole sandbox and make a new sandbox. But you have to play in the sandbox.
And that's what I mean by the vision. Like, the vision is the Force. These are what Jedis are. That's that's like exactly what you're saying with the sandbox. Like, that's his vision of this universe. If you're going to now, mind you, if they wanted to take an original franchise like fucking what's his nuts did with Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder. And go to town.
Go to town. You want to do this on your own dime?
Yes.
Fucking go ahead. You want to have an entire story about how patriarchy is bad and all these other things? Go ahead. Dude, absolutely. You just can't do it here.
No.
Because it doesn't fit here. Because it's antithetical to what we're doing.
Create your own fucking thing. And that's always been my complaint with these people that do things. It happens in millions of franchises. It happens with fucking Marvel where they're changing everything. Yeah. It's like, if you want to do something that completely changes the canon of something that's been around for fucking decades, do your own fucking thing then.
Yeah.
And then, kind of like what fucking Rings of Power's doing with the goddamn Lord of the Rings, it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Don't
stop changing things.
Stop changing
Stop thinking that you're smarter than the people that came up with this shit.
Yes.
You're not.
The only reason you are getting the opportunity to do this is because the fans who love this shit have shelled out their money and told this is what we want to see, not what you're fucking changing it to.
Yeah. For me, it comes down to when you have this many bad shits in the bowl.
Yes.
Who's minding the bowl?
Yes.
Who's been here the whole time? KK.
Yeah.
She's been here the whole time.
The whole time.
The whole time.
The whole time.
So it may not be all her fault, but she's got to take the lion's share of the blame.
The ship.
She's got to take the lion's share.
Yep.
Even if it's not all her fault, she's got to take most of the blame because she's running this shit.
Including the sequels.
Yeah. You get credit for everything that works.
Yes.
You also then have to take credit for everything that's bad. And if you have more bad than good, that's your own damn fault.
And you got to be humble enough to take the fucking blame.
Yeah.
Be like, you know what? I tried something, hasn't worked out. I'm waiting for Kevin Feige to do that because Marvel is shit in the bed.
He needs to do it. He's
fucking
on that
do it
exact
big time.
same list.
But it's like, I now am terrified of anything or everything that Disney acquires.
Yeah.
Because they have found a way to completely ruin all of these things they've gotten their hands on.
Well, what they end up doing is they wait for something to get really, really big on its own laurels, on its own feet, and then they buy it. And then they produce a few things that kind of make the fans happy. But the longer they stick with it, the more they think they know more than anybody else in the room. And suddenly, this thing that everybody has loved for 40 years starts mutating and changing. And it's different than what we remember it being. And we're the ones that are wrong for not liking this new iteration of this thing that we love.
And I think you're the one that used this analogy. Disney now is the EA of films. Because they'll, just like EA did, they take these properties and they fucking destroy it.
Prince of Persia was a great game.
Yeah.
Until EA got their hands on it.
Until EA got a hold.
And then it was shit. Yeah. That's all I got. I don't have anything.
I don't have anything else.
This is just a fucking minefield of frustration and anger.
I'm going to continue watching the show because my son enjoys it. Because he's 9.
This is the thing, is that the uninformed and the young will love it because it has all the sheen of Star Wars.
Yes.
But anybody who knows what Star Wars is supposed to be is going to immediately see through it.
Yes.
And it's not like an Aldi's off-brand where, you know, it's off-brand, but it's actually kind of better than the brand name. You know, the Aldi's chicken strips are better than the Tyson chicken strips. This is like Stop and Shop where they had like 2 different forms of in-store brand. One that was decent and one that was bad.
Yeah.
And the bad one was just really cheap.
It's made by actual chicken lips.
Exactly. Exactly.
I gotta say, though, if it continues along this track, it might be worse than Obi-Wan.
Oh, it's on that track.
It's on the track.
The only thing that Obi-Wan has over this is that this doesn't have a direct line to the Holy Trilogy.
No.
That's
what I'm worried about.
Yeah, we can
by
get there.
Showing what's his nuts in this last episode.
We can get there.
They're linking it to the prequels. They've already done that.
Even just the fact that we have now had someone come along and say, hey, you know what's cool? An Immaculate Conception. You know what's really cool? An Immaculate Conception of twins.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah. Here's the thing. Fuck you.
Yeah.
We had this figured out. This was done. We had this. This was in the box. We were done with it. Yeah. And then you opened it up and said, no, I want to play with this one. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Why do you have to be like this? Anyway, it's a bad show.
Well, that was Nerdpod Generations, folks. Episode 143, right? I think
143.
Yeah. Episode 143. I'm exhausted. That went exactly the way I thought it would go.
I swear, if we wanted to, we could do an entire episode of just watch, play, read, just the 2 of us. Because we just went to the trailer park and then we dove right into Acolyte. We didn't do any watch, play, read on that.
No, and we might still this week. I just have a bunch of stuff going on this week.
We got to figure out what our schedule is.
Got to try to find a way to get in there and do it. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed the show. The rants are some of our favorite shows, so this is going to be up there with some of the Obi-Wan episodes. So I really look forward to getting feedback on this.
Any episode that ends with my legs being as sweaty as they are now.
I don't need to know that. That's okay. So, folks, this has been Nerdpod Generations, episode 143. Once again, go to the nerdpodgen.com to look up links to everything and anything we do. Al, who does our music and our logo?
Our music is done by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. Our logo is by Kortney Howell. I am Alfred Judson.
I'm Steve Taylor.
Until next week, friends and enemies. We got to find something good to talk about. I can't just do Acolyte. I can't just do Acolyte. You know what? The good news is you're going to be gone for a little bit.
Yeah.
We're both going to be able to recover. And then we're going to have 3 episodes of Acolyte to cover.
Oh, my God.
Have a great week, friends and enemies.
See you later, bye.